Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Aloha Pools and Spas Deep Dive Podcast. I'm John Watts, your host, along with Brad Cook, and we've got
Jeff Jones. Salesperson extraordinaire from Jonesboro, and Chad Mansker. He's the intergalactic sales manager for Aloha Pools and Spas.
Outstanding. That's right. And we're not in our typical studio today. We have our tiny little sign here, and
this is mobile podcast.
It's not even lit up. I don't have the right connector to light it up. But this is the mobile podcast. We're a little dark. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. And the reason is we're kind of backlit here. It's a beautiful sunset at the Wake
Club.
The Wake Club in Gilbertsville.
Grand Rivers, Kentucky.
I don't even know where I'm at. Grand Rivers, Kentucky.
Yeah.
So I promise this is just iced tea. I don't know.
Same.
So,
just a little iced tea.
I don't have a drink.
So what we're talking about today, we wanted to go over, since this is a sales training is why we're out here. And Jeff, we'll start with you. I want to ask you, and I guess we'll just jump in first. How long have you been with Aloha?
9 years.
9 years. You enjoying it so far?
Most of the time, absolutely.
Can I ask Jeff?
Yeah.
What is your first memory of dealing with me or dealing with coming in and learning how to sell? Because it seemed like to me there was a story about when we interviewed, or there's something in the first month or two of you starting at Aloha.
Do you remember what the story was? Anything?
I don't know. I do remember that you were in your previous job was sales. I always joke and say your previous job was sales because you were a youth pastor.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do remember that. But
yeah, I remember that. It was the job interview, and we had talked about me being in youth ministry, and I talked about the number of kids that I'd had the privilege of ministering to, and you said, well, it's pretty easy when you have a good product.
Yeah.
Right. And, in that case, the quote unquote product sells itself. So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, and I guess when the parlay to that is you're coming to a place that we feel like is a really good product and sells itself as well. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Outstanding. And one of the things that I wanted to ask you, from the customer standpoint, we think of this as the customer as the audience on this. What are some things that you wish a customer would know that would make their purchase process easier?
Something they would know to
or something that you would like to tell them to kind of meet them halfway, help make the process easier. What are some tips?
Sure. That there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that they will never know about. Whether it's whenever they inquire, there's people involved behind the scenes sending that customer to the right salesperson so that their needs can be met. Once you go through the process, once we come to an agreement, at that point, there are a lot of people behind the scenes, people doing the ordering, making sure all the right things are in place for them, people that load the trucks. The obvious would be the construction crews, which, by the way, you don't just have one crew that shows up. You have a dig crew, then your construction crew. They will also do your concrete. Then you have a finish crew. There is so much that goes on that the customer never sees, and it's pretty amazing to see it all come together.
Jeff, what's a day in the life of a salesperson like for Aloha?
In the summer, it's very different than right now.
Okay. No podcast in the summer.
It might be a little more difficult.
A lot fewer, I would think.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, I would say, first thing, you show up in the morning and you're responding to emails, text messages that might have come in late that night or early in the morning. getting back in touch with your customers. If you have any current pools being built, you may have some people that you need to respond to. They might have a question about what's going on. Although we have PCs now, someone I left out earlier, didn't mean to, who are involved in the process, who actually help take care of them.
Project coordinators.
Yeah, sorry, project coordinator. But it's responding, looking at any new inquiries. If there's any recent pools sold, I've got things that I need to do, whether it's getting the permit, especially in places like Jonesboro. There are a lot of steps to getting the permit. Ordering the liner or the fiberglass pool, or getting in touch with Brad if it's a gunite, saying, hey, these are the things that they're wanting. There's a lot of different steps involved in that. And then I've got to do a site drawing. So I've got to make sure I know the measurements off the house. If there are fences, how far off are we off each fence?
Elevations.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hey, when you build this pool, I'll put a note on there. When you build this pool, you might want to build it up somewhere between 6 and 8 inches. Well, then when the crew shows up to dig, they have a little more knowledge than I do about that. I shouldn't say a little more, a lot more than I do about that. I have a little bit of knowledge, but they show up and they're like, Jeff said 6 to 8. We're looking at this and we agree it's probably closer to 8, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
But that's just a little bit of a day in the life. Mm-hmm. So,
what is your ideal customer?
Ideal customer would be someone who will enjoy some give and take in designing the pool. And what I mean by when I say give and take, you come to me with your ideas, and I have a Peloton at home. And my favorite instructor has this saying. He says, I'm going to make suggestions, but you've got to make decisions. And that's how I treat my customers. And a lot of them, I tell them that. I'm like, listen, I might recommend this, but ultimately the decision's on you, because not everything is right for everybody.
Yeah, and it's something that I'd add to that is like I've always said to our potential customers is, I can bring my ideas to you, but those are just ideas. And if it brings a no, I don't like that, but I do like this, then we have a successful conversation. You know, if my bad idea reinforces their good idea, then we're getting somewhere. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think the ideal customer is you're working together to build that project, and you get some good positive feedback. And when I say positive feedback, it means I get feedback that is positive in helping me do my job better, which means it might not always be positive. Hey, Jeff, maybe you could have told us we needed an extra light here. We thought we only needed 2, but looking at it, we needed 3. So it's little things like that, but where they're not upset about it, they're just like, hey. So I love the feedback where I can make a change.
Yeah, and I think Aloha, what we're trying to perfect that a little bit. That's what we're all here for, is to learn how to ask the questions that get there when they decided to give us a call and give us a shot and give us a chance. That's what we're trying to do, is make sure we ask the right questions so we can get that pool in the ground for them the way they want it. And that we have them close their eyes and tell me about that pool that they were talking about back on the back deck, or their neighbor's pool, of tired of going over to their place. But what was that pool look like? We had this drill one time with some people with another consult company, and they had me close my eyes and say, if you had your perfect pool out in your yard, what's that look like? Well, you even took it a little bit deeper. Who's there? What are you guys having for lunch? What's everybody doing? So we're trying to dig. We're not trying to just be a construction company building pools. We're trying to build memories and families. I know how silly that sounds, but it's true, because Brad's been doing this a long time. We all live in the communities that we sell in, and there's nothing better when you're out eating with your family and somebody comes up and says, hey, we just come from the baseball games. We're going to go hit the pool in the hot tub, and and my husband's doing the cold plunge. He's lost 15, 20 pounds. That's what we're looking for. That's
success.
That's
right there,
success.
Yes.
That's success. Yeah.
So we're at a sales training, and every time as a consumer I hear that, I'm thinking, oh, they're learning the magic tricks to make me agree to things that I don't. They're learning how to trick me or whatever. So
Right.
what's the purpose of this?
Well,
meeting?
the magic tricks are they're not so magic. There's actually, asking questions to make, what they wanted into the yard, and we're the experts that we know. Well, that we maybe not be able to do that, but maybe we can. But we want to start with your dream and then go from what we got to work with on that canvas. There may be an obstacle or two, but I'll be honest, we're pretty good at knocking those obstacles out of the way and getting exactly what they wanted.
Well, the great thing about what we're saying is a sales meeting. It's the people we have in right now. We're not talking about sales at all. We're basically talking about helping people walking people through a process, and it's not about sales tricks or anything like that. And I'll tell you quite frankly, ever since I have been selling pools, it's never been to me a selling proposition as much as it is you go out to the yard and you just talk to customers. And my son sells pools now, and I said the first thing you got to do is when you go out is just talk to people. Sales is not what you see on TV, or it's in our world at least. It's not a track of if they say this, you say this. It's more about getting out there and just finding out what a customer is what they've always dreamed of, what they can do in their backyard and within the confines of the backyard, and try to deal with obstacles such as the slope of the yard and the space that they have to deal with, and taking care of the water issues, and then delving into exactly what Chad was saying. Okay, so what's a day in the life of you as a pool owner look like, and then walk them through and make suggestions, and then whenever they find what they like, and I've always said this as well, they're smart enough, if they can afford a pool, they're smart enough with the proper guidance to make their own decisions, like you said a second ago, Jeff.
Mm-hmm. And I think one thing that might make our potential customers feel better about us going through this process, that might make them feel good. We have not talked about pool specifics the entire day.
Yeah.
This entire meeting has been about serving the customer better. And I think that should make people feel good to know we're not just out to get your money. We're not just out to get you to sign the dotted line. Like, we're really trying to give you something enjoyable, something to bring laughter to your home, fun. I've got two girls, Peyton and Livy, they're at home. We have a pool, and my wife will bring her phone out, and she'll hook it up to the speaker and play music. It's the no phone zone. That's the only phone allowed outside. And I'll see those kids jumping in, and it's a life-changing experience. I didn't even want to get a pool. Brad actually talked me into it.
What did I say?
So it was actually kind of funny. Brad said, "How old are your girls, Jeff?" And I told him their ages, and he said,
"Oh, and they're both competitive swimmers, by the way."
Yeah, well, Livy quit. She's karate now, or taekwondo. But at the time, yes, they were both swimmers. And he said, "Those girls need a pool." And I'm like, "Brad, they swim every day at the pool. We don't need one at home." And he was like, "Every weekend? I mean, your kids don't like to have fun and just jump in the water and play, And he's trying to convince me and all this stuff. And then he looked at me and he said, I'll never forget, it was two things. Well, one from him and one from the back of my mind. But Brad said, "How long do you think those girls are going to be able to be at home?" And so I thought about how old they were. And he said, "They're going to be gone in the blink of an eye." And he said, "Have something back there for the family to enjoy while they're still home." And so I did it. But one of the things I told myself was I remember what I was like in junior high and high school. I think we all remember what we were like. And I thought, do I want the party to be at my house or someone else's house?
Right.
I want everybody coming to my house.
That's right.
So, but Brad's words really rung true. Get those kids something they can enjoy so you guys can grow as a family.
I shamed him into it.
He did.
It was the magic words.
But you don't regret it.
I don't regret it at all. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Well,
Glad to
and
help.
presumably, it's one of those things that'll last with grandchildren as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff, have you thought about that?
You ready?
Not yet. Can we move on to a different topic,
Wait.
please? My kids are young. Let's move on.
Let's dive into that for a little bit. Let's deep.
Moving right along.
Trying to push you forward. Into that.
Right. No, I hope so one day. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I think about, my parents had a pool, I grew up always in the water in the pool, but I honestly swim more, once I had my daughters. We'd go over to the grandparents more than I ever swam growing up. I was always on the road or going someplace or going to friends' houses or whatever, and I'd swim all the time, but really spent more time at other people's homes, as a teenager back in the 90s. So that's what we did back then. But once I had a family, it was, hey, let's take them to the pool. Let's take them to grandma and grandpa's all the time. So
Right.
honestly, it'll keep giving the gift. So, well, same question that I asked Jeff. Chad, what do you think is the ideal customer, and how do you decide which salesperson gets who, or is it just someone that they find, or because he mentioned we pass them around to whoever will best fit their needs sometimes. Is that the case, or how does that work?
It depends on the salesperson's role. And some people only sell particular types of pools.
Okay.
So there's a lot of variables there.
Keep in mind, I'm new here. I'm learning.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we have salespeople in different markets. We have in Arkansas, in Tennessee. We have
Okay.
up in Illinois, Missouri. We have, like I said earlier, the salespeople are in the communities that they, that
Good to say they
sell
might
to.
know more about
Yeah,
Jonesboro
yeah,
or
absolutely.
Marion
Yep.
than the other ones and that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. And the ideal customer for me, honestly, is if you've done the ones that have done their research, and they come with questions. That helps us out to get us further down the line. And the best thing that we have is our website. We have an estimator, so they can get a ballpark price. Check out our website. It's great. You can get a ballpark price. One of the biggest questions that usually start the conversations off, or when someone is initially with that first point of contact reaching out to us, is I don't even know how much a pool costs. And that's why years ago we created the estimator. It really wasn't in the market at the time. There's a few companies out there that have something similar, but it's to give them an idea of what a pool is going to cost. And then when we come in and we can, we can take that number and then add it to your dream. That plus your dream is going to come up with that number, and to have some background done and have some knowledge on it. It's great, but in the same breath, coming in, we've got people with 15, 20 years of experience in. We've got Brad who's got the knowledge of everything if we don't. So you can come in and count on us to give you fair and true answers, even if it doesn't end up being Aloha. We know it's really important that you looked at Aloha and come and ask those questions, and we try to give you the best answer so you can make the best right decision for yourself. And we're going to do the same. We're going to see if make sure that that's a good decision for us as well, and go from there.
What are some of those questions? You said they should hopefully have questions. If you had like the top 3 questions that you think they need to consider, what would it be?
Why now? What's brought them in now? They need to consider that, because it's an emotional purchase. It's one of the biggest purchases that they're going to do. So they need to consider why now. As Jeff just mentioned one of his whys that Brad used on him. His daughters were of that certain age to where the years are going to go by. I know this. I've got older kids that have their kids of their own. I know it's hard to believe, but it is. So the why is a great is it's probably the biggest, and you can go from there, go from the emotion, because it's a purchase of emotion that we like to look at, and that's what we're here for. We're learning how to speak to and find that emotion and put that emotion into reality.
When you say that, why now? That's a really good question. It seems like it maybe not that deep until you dig in and figure out why now. Because I've seen people come in to the store and say, and they're people are kind of creatures of habit. Because that why now, if they don't go ahead with the purchase that year, that why now becomes the same exact time the next year. And I've seen it happen. Finally, one time I told this customer, you do this every summer. And what the scenario was they come in and say it was June 15th, and they want a pool, and we tell them, well, it'll probably be August at this point. And they said, well, the kids will be in school in August, and then next year they say, well, the kids will be in school in August in the third year. I said, you know what? Remember, the past 2 years, whatever's going on, and it could be the heat, or it could be, Father's Day, coming up and wishing, or whatever it is, but that whatever that stimulus is, that why now is an excellent question for that very reason, because then life is passing them by. Like I was telling Jeff about his beautiful little baby girls, and and they nobody's ever called me and said, man, you know what? I just wish I would have waited a couple more years. Never. But many people have said, we should have done this years ago. You know what?
Right.
Yep.
And then, of course, with the other why now in a more immediate sense, we're recording this. You see the snow in the back.
And beautiful sunset right now, by the way.
Well, I planned this.
It is beautiful.
I ordered that.
Good job.
You've got good connections.
DoorDash, they came right on time.
I made a request.
Lord Dash.
That's right.
With it being the very end of January, we got this is the last day.
Yeah.
Why now on a pool? Well, we did the 120 days video.
Oh man, yeah. I think it was right at the end of December. I texted Hunter and I said, Hunter's our rain man, our stats guy, right? I said, how long is it from contract to finish before we get a pool? And he said it's like 86 days or 87, 88, I don't know. And then I went in and I added a month for the decision-making process. And so that turned out to like 116 days, practically 120 days, or 4 months. I think that's what it was. 90 days, 120 days, 4 months. And then so I said, okay, January 1, February 1, March 1, April 1. And then it turned out that it was going to be something like April or May before we would have their pool finished. And so now, if somebody has it's 1st of February. And so you just set that clock again. And we can get to pools faster than that. But we also have some situations where that's their average. And I know that St. Louis skews that a little bit because the permitting process is longer. And then there's areas in southern Illinois, West Tennessee, Arkansas, where there's no permit required. So it's all over like West Kentucky, where we are right now. It's all over the board as far as the permitting process, but a lot of the other stuff that comes into play, getting in line, ordering product, and getting it in, it takes a while. And it's just that there's you a good why now. If you don't have a why now, there's a good why now for you.
So, well, I guess any final thoughts? We're coming up on the end of the half hour. Is there anything else that we want to share, or you want customers to know?
You asking me specifically?
Well, I just happen to be looking at you. It could be Jeff, or
Go ahead. I'll go after you.
I really can't think of anything at the time.
So let me just ask, if you've been here for now Chad rounds up. If he's been here a year, he says 3. So you're hitting 5 years. So what's that? 15 to
It's
20
about
now.
15 to
And
20, yeah.
Kind of exactly.
I do it by
You've been here.
hours worked, honestly.
You've been here
days
long.
worked.
You know a lot of the people in the company.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that you're the sales manager, so you can always take whatever a salesman says, right, with a grain of salt. I've got great people here surrounding me here.
It's the hardest job in the company. Just
Oh my gosh!
By far.
Riding around in the truck talking to people, right? That's so hard, right? And you got an easy product that sells itself. But seriously,
besides that, it's really hard.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, exactly. But what would you say? You know the players, you know the people. What would you say about the if you're looking at your options for a pool builder? What would you say to people?
What would I say to people that they were looking around? I would say, do your research. Check out our websites. Look at our reviews. Check our website out. Do our estimator. Come in and talk at any one of our locations. We're more than happy to come out and talk to you, and do the best thing. Do the best thing for you. If it's something that we don't feel like we would be the best at, we'll let you know that. So we it's important to us. We take pride in what we do, and that's that. I guess that would be. I could go on and on, but Jeff, you keep on. What do you got over
Well
there for
said
that?
there.
Yeah, that was well said.
Yeah,
I would say be sure. I mean, I'm going to piggyback on something Chad said, to check out our reviews. People say a lot on there, and stars have value. And when you have as many reviews as we have, and you still have a 4.8, that says something.
That's right.
What about the
And-
bad reviews?
What about the bad ones?
Check out the bad
Oh,
ones.
I mean,
you need to read the bad ones. Some of them are funny.
Is anybody else that way? That's what
Yeah,
I do. I go
but not
to the
all of
one
them.
stars and
First,
start there.
only
Some
ones
of,
I read.
Yeah, right.
some of them
Right.
people complained, and we didn't even build their pool. I think they got us mixed up with someone else. But some of them are legit. They really are. And we've talked about those. We have made changes. Brad and I were actually talking about this probably an hour before we got on here, about some of the changes we made over the years based on hearing complaints from customers on, man, we need to improve on this. And man, Brad has nothing spared. Let's add these people in these positions so that our communication is better.
Yeah, it's a constant evolution of
It really
customer
is.
service, and I hope that you see, if you look at the bad reviews, those are my favorite opportunities. I hate that somebody felt like they had to do that, but it gives you. I would so much rather have that. I would really much rather than just call my phone number, which is 731-431-8199, of course. But I always consider it an opportunity to help somebody. If somebody takes the energy to go and spend it on a review, that is to me a gift, and we get to take it and do our best to fix it for one, and then go upstream of the issue and see what we can do to prevent it for the future.
Good to go. Well,
Yeah.
this has been
to
a joy, gentlemen, and I
Can I
see
have my
that the
drink-
sun has gone
Can I have my
down.
drink coupons now? You told me if I did this, I get coupons.
What?
Well, I was going to say the sun went down,
Yeah.
so and seen.
There you go.
But so we're going to wrap it up. Again, thank you for listening to or watching the Aloha Pools and Spas Deep Dive podcast. Like, subscribe, make comments, all that. And then, as always, dive safely.